I have like a little bit of a mean-ish persona on stage. The Warnings fan base didn't really resonate with that persona too well in the beginning. So at first I tried, I'll be meaner, and it didn't work.
Wait, so what does meaner look like?
Just more like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know you guys didn't know how to mosh.
Whoa.
And then they were just kind of like, okay, I hate this bitch.
What's going on? This is Tori Kravitz. Welcome to the She's of the Band podcast here on Knotfest. It is great to welcome back Conquer Divide.
Hi.
How are you guys doing?
Hi. Good.
Hi. Good.
Thank you for having us. We're really excited.
Cool. You all were one of the first guests on She's of the Band. Well, Kia, you were on, and now I get to meet you two for the first time. Like, what? January 2023. And
wow.
We were only on Zoom, so now we're like in person.
Uh-huh.
And is this the first time we've like all met in person? I think so, right?
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, it is.
This is what happens when you have internet friends. You're like, no, but I already know them.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah, it's like, good to see you. And then it's like, oh, wait, actually, I've never been in the same room as you before.
Crazy.
Bizarre.
Wild. Well, a lot has happened in the world of Conquer Divide since January of 2023. So hit me up on like what have been the biggest milestones for you all since then.
Well, we went to Europe. We did our first tour in Europe. That was really cool. And I think that was probably the biggest thing that we did that was like super exciting. I don't know if anyone else has anything else to add.
Yeah, we did our first headliner run in the US this year.
Yes.
So that was exciting, kind of testing the waters, seeing what that was like. Slow Burn Deluxe.
True.
Yes.
We just had our first song on the Billboard Top 40.
Wow.
For hard
Yeah.
rock.
Congratulations, y'all. I mean, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and hard work have gone into these milestones for sure.
Yeah.
Like, I see you all absolutely hustling. How was that headlining tour? I feel like that's sort of like a different level of pressure when you are the bosses and you're like running the show, right?
Yeah, it was really cool. It's such a different experience, like playing in really big venues with like higher capacities, like as an opening band, and then going to like a 250 cap room. But it's still so cool because then it's like all 250 people are like there to see us. And that's like a really, really sick feeling. Like, I mean, I think my favorite show I've ever played was our headlining show in Minneapolis. There was 150 people there. And compared to some of the other shows we've played, like in front of 3,600 people, for example, you would think that doesn't like compare, but it was actually really sick because the crowd like was singing along, and yeah, it was a lot of pressure, but a lot of fun.
Well, there's also the difference in instead of the pressure of having to like sell people on your band who are just standing there with their arms crossed, you're like, y'all know the words. These are our people, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's such a different vibe when it's like you're playing for your fans and not for somebody else's fans, even though we love doing that. But yeah, it was such a different vibe. Everyone was singing along. Like, it just felt so much more like us.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good to hear.
Yeah,
was there a crowd or like a band you've opened for where the crowd was like the toughest, where you're like, damn, this is a tough crowd?
I would say the Warnings crowd, surprisingly, we thought that they would be a little bit more receptive because it's another all-girl band.
Right.
But I think our music I think some of them were a little bit shocked by like the heaviness of it. So not every venue was like that. We had some really sick crowds, but I think we had to kind of change what we did. Our tactics for hyping the crowd up, we had to kind of change what we did a little bit compared to what we would maybe normally do.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were still great crowds though. Don't
Good.
get me wrong.
No, love the Warning. I'm sure like, yeah. And you have like songs that make sense for that kind of crowd. So I'm sure you just tailor the set list and rock it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's just harder to tell their fans, let's open up this pit.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're all like, excuse me?
Open up this what?
What?
Yeah,
you gotta do a tutorial before the next time you have a tour where like people may or may not know a pit. Show them like a tutorial video before your set starts. I'm like, all right, guys, Conquer Divide's about to come on. Here's what you're supposed to do.
Okay, we need to put that on
Step
our
by
list
step.
of TikToks to make.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Write that down.
Go.
Tutorial.
Yeah, I have like a little bit of a mean-ish persona on stage. like kind of bossing the crowd around a little bit. And the Warnings fan base didn't really resonate with that persona too well in the beginning. So at first I tried, I'll be meaner, and it didn't work.
Wait, so what does meaner look like?
Just more like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know you guys didn't know how to mosh.
Whoa.
And then they were just kind of like, okay, I hate this bitch.
So you're like, okay, we're gonna dial that back about 10 notches.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm so sorry.
Turns out
Please, I am begging you to mosh.
Like, okay, so bullying does not work.
Yeah.
It turns out.
Not every time.
Not every time. Well, I mean, speaking of being adaptive, another change is like there have been lineup changes since the last time I saw you, or a lineup change. And I think it's really a testament to how adaptive and steadfast you all are, that like in the face of a change or a challenge, you all just rise to the occasion and keep trucking. So what does that sort of look like for you all when you have moments? I mean, I'm sure there have been many throughout your career. You've been a band for a long time, of like, how do you kind of find your center and move forward when things like that happen?
Yeah, I mean, we've had a few lineup changes, like you mentioned. I think the most recent one was probably the hardest for us to navigate, which was Janelle, the other vocalist, leaving. And it happened kind of at a really, it was pretty poorly timed, because we also had some like changes with our team. And so it kind of at first felt even harder, because it was like blow after blow after blow. And we kind of just had to like band together and just like remind ourselves like everything happens for a reason. And so now, instead of like thinking about it as like an era has ended, like now we can kind of refocus on like how we're moving forward. It's been a little bit weird. Like right now on tour, we have a guy with us playing bass and doing the screams. So it is a little bit weird, you know, we're not, it doesn't sometimes feel like we're an all-girl band. And we always said that wasn't super important to us. And sometimes it feels now it's like, maybe it is a little bit more important than we led on.
Yeah. How has that vibe kind of made you rethink the importance of the all-girl thing for you?
For me, it's kind of like, I feel like it's really cool that we all are like kind of standing out in our fields. And then I think I've always thought like being a screamer as a woman is like even cooler. And so to me, like that's like the one that I really want to be a girl. Maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just me missing Janelle. I don't know.
I mean, I agree, especially in a position where you see very few women doing it. And so, I don't know, it's like, I'd say screams and drums, especially because you don't see as many of us. And so it's like, if I see a band where it's all women and then they have like a male drummer or a male screamer, and it's like, oh, everyone's thinking, of course, that's the dude, because that's the thing that dudes do.
Right.
So
you're really proving that that's not the case when you have that example.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And something too that actually crossed my mind that like I'm really hoping this narrative didn't happen to you all is like when there's lineup changes, you hear, oh, well, of course the girls are bickering, or of course they're not getting along. Like, yeah, of course there's going to be a million lineup changes in a girl band. So did that happen to you all? Because that's obviously a bit of a misconception. We know the dudes are also fighting like cats and dogs, but
I think it wasn't said that much, actually.
Good.
I mean, there was probably like one or two people. But like, if you look at other bands, which are predominantly all men, there are a lot more bands that have had way more lineup changes than us. And Janelle was our first lineup change in, I think, 5 years. So.
Yeah. Well, that's why I brought it up too, really to set the record straight if anyone was thinking that, because I do see that come up a lot. And I'm like, I really hope my Conquer Divide girls didn't go through that. So I'm glad to hear it was generally taken okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing we did get the most assumptions on was people assuming that like now we all hate each other.
Right.
Which was kind of crazy, because it's like we've been friends for 10 years. Like we're not just going to now be like, we hate each other.
No.
That was probably the biggest assumption. Like people weren't really like, oh, of course the women can't stay together. It was just mostly like, oh, I wonder if they ended on good terms, or I wonder if they're still friends, or, you know, stuff like that. And
Life happens.
We are.
And people change and they want to try other things.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're still all friends on good terms. So
As long as the homies are intact.
Yeah.
Yes.
Shout out Janelle.
Shout out. Shout out. And two, you mentioned Slow Burn Deluxe also came out since last time we spoke. And I loved that there's an Attack feature on that because I'm an OG metalcore girly. Gateway band for me. Were they like an important band for you all in your journey in metalcore? And like, what was that like getting to collab with them? Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, like, when I first started getting into metalcore, it was Asking Alexandria and Attack.
Yes.
I will never forget seeing I think it was this, what was the video they had that like coined crabcore? It was like in the field.
Was it the smoke?
Stick
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I will never forget like my boyfriend at the time showing me that video and me being like, whoa, like this is kind of crazy. So then like when we toured with them, it was just like, I was like, oh my God, I know like almost all of these songs from like when I was a teen. Like this is so sick. But yeah, it's I love Chris's voice. So it's really cool to like be able to mesh our voices together.
Yeah, so cool. I mean, yeah, for me it was Attack and Asking Alexandria.
Yeah.
And I remember when I did a tour with Asking Alexandria, I was like watching every single night, like singing every word.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if you all had sort of that similar experience of like, you know, that full circle.
Yeah.
When you're a fan of a band and they're your peers, like there's nothing better, right?
Yeah, I actually never even really thought about the fact that they're my peers. That's so sick.
Yes.
Yeah, that's cool. Oh, my peers.
Yep.
My friends.
Yep, sickly, those are your peers.
Yeah.
And also, speaking of other peers, you know, you've collaborated with Electric Callboy. We just had Icon for Hire on the podcast. You've collabed with them, The Warning. And those are all bands, those are some heavy hitters, right?
Yeah.
So what are kind of the best pieces of wisdom you've been able to collect from the people you've been working alongside?
Ooh.
I would say with Electric Callboy, they're just watching them work. They're so hardworking, but they're, I don't know, really down to earth. They like to have fun. But I think I just realized throughout that whole tour, like we got to step up our game because they're on it.
Yeah. I mean, we did on Knotfest like a Beyond the Breakdown episode, which we go through a full day of a show with them and how they prep the entire production. And I was so shocked at how involved they are. Like they're extremely hands-on, still quite DIY given the scale of their show.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's pretty huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just, yeah. When you watch them, you would think that like the band just like kind of fucks off, I guess,
Right.
and then lets everyone else do stuff. But no, they all are really involved in everything.
Yeah,
Like,
Pascal, their guitar player, he shoots their music videos with his brother, and then Dan, the other guitar player, he's their producer and mixer. So everything's in house.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And
very
you
hardworking
all
guys.
are still hustling too. So
Yeah.
yeah, like
we respect it.
yes.
Yeah, totally.
Real recognizes real.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes. I actually just taught, there's an elderly man that works at my work, and I just taught him what real recognize real means.
Oh my God, that's so cute.
It's really funny that you say that.
Where do you work when you're not on tour?
I work at a preschool.
Oh, that's so wholesome.
Yeah, so he's like the cook. It's like a private school, so he's the cook for the whole building, and I really like soup, and he makes good soup, and so we were talking about it, and I was like, real recognize real, dude.
And he was like, excuse me?
Yeah, he was like, yeah, you'll have to elaborate.
And so she did.
And so I did.
And something else I want to touch on, right, is I love a Spotify mix. I love a Spotify playlist. You all on them all the time. I cannot escape
Yay.
Conquer Divide on all the Spotify curated playlists. Yes, the master plan is working.
We're your sleep paralysis demon.
No, honestly, and I love it. You can say. But especially when I'm in the gym. Like, you all come on a lot at the gym, and it's like that moment when I need to feel motivated, inspired. Like, sometimes you all really kick me into high gear, which I appreciate.
Hell yeah.
And it makes me think, what matters more to you when you're crafting a song? The way it makes someone feel or the way it makes you feel? Like, what are you thinking about more? Because y'all are making me feel things.
Oh, that's nice.
I
Yeah.
would say first for me, it's the way it makes me feel. And I think if it hits home for me and makes me feel something, that it's going to resonate with other people too. Mm-hmm. That's
Yeah.
kind of the way I look at it.
Yeah, especially when it comes to like performing it, in the studio, like having emotion behind the words that I'm singing is really important to me. And so, yeah, if it, like Kristen said, if it means something to me, then I feel like other people will feel it too.
Yeah. Well, that's
Hopefully.
a great point as well. And I'm sure that goes for every instrument, right? There's a difference between playing or singing the notes versus feeling them.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that translate into your performances? Like, how do you convey that?
Sometimes, like, I'm probably going to sound so conceited, but sometimes, like, during shows, like, I'll do something and I'm like, damn, I really popped off, you know?
I love that.
And, like, sometimes, like, especially System Failure is my favorite song to perform. And, like, sometimes when we're playing it live, I'm just like, I, like, look around the stage and I'm like, I can't believe we fucking wrote this. Like, this is so cool. But, yeah, I think.
You should feel that way about your work.
I always feel it, I guess.
That's good.
For the most part.
Yeah. Anyone else want to chime in, or did she cover it pretty good?
Yeah, I think she hit the nail on the head.
Hell yeah.
I mean, even for me as a drummer, like, it's obviously a very technical thing. It's like you need to just be on and be focused and make sure you're on time and playing your parts. But sometimes I get, like, lost in how I'm feeling when we're on stage too, where I'm just like, I don't know, I, like, leave my body for a few seconds and I'm just also kind of look around and I'm like, man, I love these songs.
This is so
and everyone here is so talented, and look at all these people singing along, and it's just kind of like vibes. And I feel like that's when I play best, like in the pocket, when I kind of leave my body. Wow. And I'm trying not to get too, like, focused, too anxious, too, like, wrapped up in what you're playing, and more like just feel it. And I think that's when I play my best too.
I feel like that would be the moment where, if I was in a band, that would be when I'd find my why as well. When you're like, yeah, this is why I do this.
Oh, yeah.
Like moments like that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And two, thinking about, like, feeling things, I got the little list here because I was like, wow, there's so many topics on the album, right? Like, you're writing about climate change, politics, mental health, domestic violence. Like, there's a lot of heavy shit on this album and in these lyrics. Was there a song that you found was the most challenging for you to get right?
Ooh. I think we probably spent the most time on Playing with Fire.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we wrote Playing with Fire, like, so long ago. And then it went through a lot of changes. And then in the studio for me, it was really hard to, like, get through singing that song. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think for me that one's probably the one I felt like was the hardest to, like, get right, because I wanted to make sure that it was done in the right way. But yeah, I think, like Kristen said, we probably all have different answers.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm thinking too, is, like, getting it right, because these topics hit different people differently, right? And, like, what you're trying to say is so specific, and it's like one word can change a lyric, right?
Yeah,
So yeah, it's a lot of finessing. What about you guys?
Probably for me, Welcome to Paradise, just because it's in a weird time signature, 10/4, and I struggled on the chorus on that one, just getting it right. I think we rewrote it a couple times before we landed on what it is now, but yeah, probably that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really, out of everyone in the band, I'm, like, the one that doesn't really understand, like, time signatures and stuff. So when I was recording that one, I was like, well, it's hard to sing because it's, like, in a weird time signature. And it wasn't, actually. I was just, like, psyching myself out. Like, the part that I was supposed to do was actually just, like,
in 4/4.
4/4, which is, like, totally normal. But I was just, like, freaking myself out, thinking, like, well, I don't know how it goes. Like, it's in a weird time signature. And then it wasn't.
Yeah.
That's okay. We did it.
So I'm going to have a geeky moment, because it's been a long time since I've read sheet music. So for anyone listening who's like, time signature, okay, so I know 4/4 is what? 4 beats per measure. Yeah. Can somebody explain this to me?
Don't know.
Defer to the drummer.
It's like a 4 quarter note pulse. So if you have 4 quarter notes in a bar.
So then what's
4.
10/4?
So I know you counted as 10/4. I actually counted as 10/8 when I'm playing it.
Okay.
So the first number is the note value. Oh, sorry. The oh my god.
I put y'all on the spot.
Oh my god.
Sorry.
I'm supposed to be able to.
You're supposed to teach me music theory.
Well, you've got the 2 numbers, and one is the note value, and one is basically the number of notes that make up the bar. So 10/8, it means that there's 10 eighth notes that make up 1 bar. So you're counting to 10, but the 8th note is the note value, so it's the length of the note.
Yes.
In drumming, every note has the same value, but anyway. If you're playing piano or something with sustain, anyway, yeah.
And now my chest is tight and I'm anxious and remembering what life was like in piano class as a kid.
I started with piano before drums, and I also have PTSD from theory.
I'm so sorry I triggered all of us at once.
It's important. It's important.
But you know, if there's big music geeks or people who just love music but maybe don't know what time signature means, we're all enlightened today.
Yeah, I actually have a metronome called wordmetronome.com, and it's got like a depressing metronome and an upbeat metronome. It's where
You're losing me.
It's phrases that add up to the number of basically counts per measure, so it helps you learn time signatures in an unhinged sort of way.
Do you remember any of them?
Life is pain. Life is pain. Life is pain. That's three.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can resonate with this on a lot of levels. And especially when I took piano class, that's probably what was going through my mind.
Exactly.
Life is pain. As I'm like crying at the piano, unable to count. So anyways, that was a tangent. I'm so sorry, guys.
I had a great time.
Thank you.
I learned a lot.
Me too.
It's about the friends we made along
You know,
the way.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say the F word on this podcast, but the original title of Welcome to Paradise was called Fuck Around and Find Out, because we picked that time signature at random and we're like, let's just fuck around and find out.
As if.
And that's how it came out.
Well, so you challenge yourself creatively. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of unhinged, that's a great transition. What's coming next? No, we were talking about like metalcore, right? We're talking about Asking Alexandria, Attack. And like those are the obvious choices of music that you would listen to that inspire you. But I know you also are like pop fans, and that is clearly evident in your music too. What is the most unhinged thing that comes on your playlist that has somehow inspired you or like weaseled its way into your music taste?
Oh. I always struggle with this because like I feel like it's been so long since I was like in the writing process, I feel like. So I don't want to answer the same thing that I always say, but I think.
Or what are you just listening to now? Maybe it doesn't inspire you, but what's the most unhinged thing you're listening to?
Oh, okay. Well, I was at the gym the other day and Molly Cyrus by Stitches came on, which is great.
This is a staple of our
band. It is a staple for us.
We play this song every time we leave on tour.
I've never heard this song.
You're in for a treat.
It's a Florida special.
It's
well, I'm from Florida, so like, hello.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a great treadmill song, I guess.
Right on. Okay. Any others, or are we all in consensus that that's the one?
I mean, I wouldn't say what I listen to is unhinged, but I listen to a lot of chill step, and then I sometimes get inspiration from country. To be honest, because they do really good storytelling in their songwriting. And so I try to pull from that because I feel like rock and metal don't do that enough. They're kind of very vague and I don't know. I like just to be descriptive. I want the listener to kind of know what the song is about. So, yeah.
For sure.
Country.
I mean, hey, I could get down some Kane Brown. I know that's more like country pop, but like, yeehaw.
I like Miranda Lambert. She's kind of my spirit animal.
Okay, right on. I like that. That is not expected.
Shooting her ex-husband or whatever.
Is that what her songs are about?
Yeah, some of them.
Okay. Like, do we need to take the news headline?
She's waiting on the porch with her shotgun. I can't remember the name of the song. Like, Gunpowder and Lead is what it's called. Yeah, she's my spirit animal.
There's a lot of country singers who kill their husbands in the song. Not in real life.
To clarify before we get banned.
Yeah.
Not false allegations.
Not for real, but yeah. Because like Dixie Chicks had that song, Earl Has to Die. Yeah. Right?
That's Earl Had to Die.
La, la. Yeah. Yes. So I guess two. Not all.
Keeping up the camaraderie with the ladies with a bit of edge. I loved the story of you all touring with I Wrestled a Bear once and how Courtney treated you all on that tour, where it wasn't like pitting women against each other. It was very much like she took you in as a friend, treated you well, and really showed you that camaraderie between women in metal is possible and exists, and especially someone you respect so much. So have you been able to kind of pass down that torch as you all are now reaching a point of success where people are probably looking up to you too? Like, do you find yourself kind of, passing on that energy that Courtney first gave to you?
I would say that, like, when we play shows and there's like another band that's opening for us, we all try to watch if we have the time in our day. We always try to like watch, but like especially myself personally, if I see that there are women in the band, I like will go a little bit more out of my way to make sure that I watch and like support them. And you know, we just did our headliner, and it was the first time we've ever been able to have a little bit of a say on some of the shows, on who gets to play with us. And I would be lying if I said that I don't more often pick a band with women in it over a band with all men. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we don't have a ton of control over that kind of stuff, but yeah, I don't ever want like anyone, especially another woman, to have played a show with us and feel like we didn't treat them the way that, you know, the way that Courtney treated us. I don't want anyone to ever feel like unwelcomed or like we can't both occupy the same space, because there is so much room for all of us.
I mean, that was something even as an interviewer, like I would see other interviewers, and I remember, you know, when you're young and like insecure, you're like, oh, that's my competition, right? And then you realize one day, wait, people can watch more than one interviewer. And it's the same with bands, right? Mm-hmm. Like people can listen to more than one band. Yeah. Like there's, like you said, there's literally room for all to succeed at the same high level that you're reaching for.
Yeah.
So totally. That's majorly important.
So much space.
Literally endless space.
Yeah.
Endless. It is the galaxy out there.
Yeah.
For all of us.
Exactly.
For sure. And you all really bust your ass. You know, I see we were talking about like you wrote down a TikTok idea, or you will be after this episode. And like it really reminded me how you all aren't just band members, you're also your own marketers. You're like your own network. Like there's so many different things you all have to do as a band, which I know even when you started, 10 years ago now? Mm-hmm. Dang. Yeah. Like even 10 years ago, all of those roles weren't necessarily a thing. So how do you feel about having to wear so many hats as boss ladies?
You know, it feels good to get things done, but I have so many moments where I'm like, I wish I could just show up and sing sometimes and not be in email hell.
At first I thought you were saying email as in like e-boy, and I was like, what is she talking about? No, email.
We actually have a group chat called Spreadsheet Hell, where we dump all of our spreadsheets of things we need to get done.
What is the quantity of spreadsheets?
Oh God.
A lot.
I don't even know.
Ballpark. Like 50?
Couple hundred, probably.
Couple hundred?
I wasn't going to say that. I was going to say 15.
I mean,
okay. There's in the chat, but there's a lot more.
Yeah, there's a lot in like the band Google Drive, but there's way more in my personal Google Drive.
Dang. And like this is the side people just don't see of a band.
Yeah.
One plus side, I think, to wearing all the hats, like wearing the marketing hat, wearing all the business hats as well, is that no one is going to believe in your band as much as you do. And so I think it's important to be able to feel like you have some sort of sense of control and like in your vision, and being able to make sure that, you know, you feel like all of the elements of your band, whether it's your merch or your promos, your videos, your TikToks, your whatever, your music, obviously, that it all meets your expectations, that it's all on brand, that it all represents you as people and as artists. You as a collective, but also I think as individuals as well. And like you mentioned, each of us are our own networkers, we're our own business people, whatever. And so, you know, it's kind of on each of us as well to bring something to the table that we can also contribute to the band.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. And especially you hear these horror stories of record labels or other people getting involved, getting their fingers in there and just like fucking it all up or doing things that aren't true to you. So as much as it's like a lot of work, at least you come out with something that is completely you, right?
Yeah.
So that's the trade-off, I guess.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously you're very busy ladies. However, I also found it really funny that you were joking on Instagram. I mean, these are in reels, right? So these are like jokes. But like you're talking about fuckboys and walking red flags and all these things. And it just got me thinking, I'm like, because I feel it so much. And what other podcast can we girly talk for a second? But like, how do you all balance the chaos of being in a band, plus like having personal lives? I don't know if any of you are dating or what your situations are. That's irrelevant unless you want to talk about it. But like, how do you balance just being like a normal woman, living your life, dealing with the walking red flags, to make sure I get it verbatim, amidst also running a business?
Sorry, you go ahead.
I can tell you about a walking green flag, which is my husband, because
Yeah,
last
okay,
year,
sick.
so first of all, we got married last summer, and obviously the whole band was supposed to be at the wedding, but I said, if we get a big tour opportunity during the wedding, you are uninvited. There is no excuses. None of you can say, no, we love you more. No, you are going to do it. And so we got the Electric Callboy offer. So I said, you're all uninvited. I'm so sorry. I'm going to miss you all, but please do this. So I missed the first 2 shows. I got married, and then the day after the wedding, I flew to Sacramento to meet up with the band, and then we did the tour.
Wow.
So shout out to my husband for being cool with
Yeah.
that. So yeah, I mean, stuff like that. It's like you need to find somebody, you know, if you're going to date or marry somebody, when you have this sort of lifestyle, they have to really understand that. And like my husband is a musician as well. He really gets it, but it's tough for sure. Like if we're going to be on tour for like 2 months at a time, sure, that's going to be difficult when, you know, you want to spend time with each other. So I think it's important to make sure that you're making time for each other, that you're staying in touch on the road. And I would absolutely hate to have to date while doing this.
Yes.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think like because we have like our group chat where we're always talking about things that we need to get done, sometimes it can feel a little bit overwhelming, like we're just constantly clocked in. So we kind of like have recently implemented like a rule that like if someone needs a break, they can just say, I'm clocking out, and then you just need to leave them alone. And sometimes it sucks because sometimes somebody has to be clocked in. But it's nice when it's your turn to clock out.
That's so important, though, because if you never clock out, you're not running at full capacity when you're clocked in.
No, and then, you know, we are working as a team to get things done. And if one of us is burnt out and we're still, like, asking them to do things, it kind of just, it's not productive. And then we'll all just be mad at each other because we all just need a break.
Totally. I mean, I work in PR, like outside of the podcast. I got real spicy with a band yesterday and I had to clock myself out. I was like, I'm going to say things I regret because they missed an interview. I need to exit the chat.
Yeah.
But it was just me being tired. Like it actually wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
So that's so important. And
We
anybody
have to clock
who's
out,
in a DIY or like running their own business, like that really matters for sure.
Yes.
That is a
100%.
great point. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah. The way I clock out on the road is I put my headphones on. And then I'll say, just so you guys know, I'm in a bad mood and you didn't do anything, but I don't want anyone to talk to me. And then I put my headphones in.
Well, it's good because then no one takes it personally, right?
Yeah.
No one's like, what's her problem? And then like,
And it's really just because I haven't eaten all day.
right.
Yeah.
We got to get her fed, watered, rested.
Yeah, the gremlin needs help.
For sure. Well, all right. So we end every episode with 4 jaw-dropping questions. Kia, we did this a couple years ago, but I figure the answers have probably maybe changed. It's a rapid fire. So whoever has like the best answer chimes in first.
Okay.
I don't know why I made this a game show, but it is
know.
now.
Okay.
It is now. All right. What is the most jaw-dropping experience you've ever had at a show?
Somebody else answered this last time.
Indianapolis.
What happened there?
Our X32 overheated and it changed all of our inner mixes, so we couldn't hear anything. And the show it was just a
So the
it was a car
X32
crash.
is the thing that like manages your in-ears?
Yeah, it manages what we're hearing in our ears, and if it goes out, then that's it.
Oh,
Game
no.
over, because there's no monitors on stage. We can't like hear ourselves. So
Right.
yeah, we just pretty much had to end the show. It was just like a car crash in slow motion.
Yeah, that sucked. We all got off stage and just cried.
Damn. That's
Happens
brutal.
to the best of them.
It does.
Well, that is jaw dropping. I would probably drop my jaw if that happened to me. Yep. What is the most jaw dropping misstep early in your career and the lesson you learned from it?
I can take this one. When I first joined the band, I was like newly 21 and I was getting really drunk before shows. And I had to learn that you can't get really drunk before you perform because you might do something stupid, like wrap the microphone cable around your neck to be artsy and then fall on stage.
Oh, no.
And you know what? It took a while to talk about that experience, but I think it's really important that people know that being in a rock and roll band does not mean you just get fucked up all the time.
Yeah. In fact, I think more often than not these days, artists aren't drinking, at least before a show.
Yeah.
Like that's becoming more frequent. So it's not Motley Crue days anymore, everybody. Like those days are over.
Yeah.
And the most jaw-dropping female artist you'd love to work with? Dream collab.
I really want to work with Scene Queen. I think that would be really cool. I feel like our styles could potentially mesh together really well. Mm-hmm. So, Hannah.
Hi.
Hey.
That is a good answer. And I'm sure the scene would love that.
Yeah.
All the queens of the scene would love that. There was a joke
and
in there
the
somewhere.
queen
Yes.
of the scene.
The queen. Yeah. Anyways, next. that ran its course. The most jaw-dropping misconception about you that you wish people understood, like you as a band. I don't know why we're all looking at you, but
I feel like I answered too, so I was going to step back and let someone else answer.
I guess in the early days, people thought other people wrote our music and did things for it. Like, you know, I feel like that happens to a lot of all female bands or female fronted bands. They just assume the guy does everything, but we're doing it all.
it's the typical industry plant cop out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we did get a few of those comments in the early days.
Yeah, like people thinking that like Joey Sturgis did everything or something like that, or it's just like a man must have been involved when, I mean, we have fabulous songwriters in the band and great business people and great people and just amazing musicians. And so it's just such a cop out when people think like, oh, it's not the band. They definitely had help. Like someone else wrote all their songs.
Mm-hmm. Period. Drop the mic.
Yeah,
it's
drop
on a
it.
stand, but I want to drop it.
Yeah, if it wasn't on the stand, I would have dropped it.
Totally. Well, thank you guys so much for coming in. I know you had a really hectic drive getting into LA.
We made
so
it.
thank you for hustling to the studio. I hope you have an amazing show tonight as well.
Yes, we do. I'm
Um,
excited.
All in unison. That was great, guys. Anything else you want to say before we go, or anything to look forward to? Guess that's nothing. No, just kidding.
Check out our new album Slow Burn, or rather the new deluxe version of Slow Burn. We're also going to be in Europe early 2025, so check that out if you live in any of those places. We can't wait to release more music for you, get into songwriting mode, just get on the road more. So yeah, give us a follow, give us a listen, tell your friends, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Yay.
Nailed it. And everybody who's watching, make sure you're listening to She's in the Band podcast. Obviously, you're here, so you are now. But continue to every other week here on notfest.com. You'll find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube at SWTB Pod on Instagram. And I'll catch you next time. Bye, y'all.